Are you a small business owner, a trader, a school owner, a federal civil servant, a Lagos or Edo civil servant, a farmer or a farm supply merchant? Do you need a loan or wish to fix your money for a high yield interest? Talk to us today and get your loan in less than 24 hours. Visit our website on www.lapo-nigeria.org or call us on 0813-984-0230. Email info@lapo-nigeria.org.
Globally, businesses and corporations are faced with challenges that requires fresh thinking on strategy, leadership, and governance to survive. The Anchor is a program designed to help organizations and individuals to be skilled in handling challenges. Join Dr. Osare Emokai, a development economist and a corporate strategist, for this interactive, informative, educative program.
Pleasant day to you out there. You're welcome to this exciting episode of the Anchor. We will be talking about ICT Career 2, Communications and Technology. But before we go into the discussion of the day, we want to go on a short break. Please don't touch that dial. We'll be back.
Globally, businesses and corporations are faced with challenges that requires fresh thinking on strategy, leadership, and governance to survive. The Anchor is a program designed to help organizations and individuals to be skilled in handling challenges. Join Dr. Osare Emokai, a development economist and a corporate strategist, for this interactive, informative, educative program.
You're welcome back. After that short break, we're talking about communication, and we're taking the Career 3, ICT Career 3, Career 2, ICT Career 2. We're looking at communication and technology. With me in this episode is Dr. Oloyede to my extreme left. Dr. Oloyede Ayodele Oloyede is the Deputy Rector of Ejon School of Management. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Also to my extreme right is Mr. Tony Anya, the Deputy Registrar of Ejon School of Management, and also the Media Director of Mindshare Communication. Mr. Anya, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure once again.
We'll be talking about communications, and we want to start this episode by looking at some words that have been used interchangeably, and want to just clear the air and give some right direction in this episode. You have heard of web, internet, and the web world. These two words are used interchangeably, but I tell you, as we start this discussion, you'll see that these two words stands on their own. They are independent of their self. And so we want to start by explaining what we mean by the web world and the internet. Dr. Oloyede, can you help us with the explanation?
Yes, thank you very much, sir. The terms internet and World Wide Web, or simply web, they are often used without much distinction. However, there are differences between these two important terms. Looking at internet, the internet is a global system of interconnected computers. This internet, it serves as a tool on its own. While the web or World Wide Web is a container. This is a reservoir that contains all our data. When you talk about the graphics, when you talk about the image, all those things that you store in the computer or on the internet, all those things that you store in the web or so to call the cloud, all those things reside somewhere. They reside in the web. If you store anything, or maybe in the mass storage, they reside somewhere. They reside in the web. So when you use your computer, maybe to browse or to surf, you just click, maybe you search for something. That thing you are searching for, could be far away from you. It could be in Asia, it could be in anywhere in the world, but you are trying to bring them closer to you or to your application, like your video or whatever. So in this case, to move this thing right from where this thing are residing, that place is a web. So now I was trying to explain the difference between internet and web. Now, in order to move the data, the image that you are trying to retrieve, wherever it's located, that place that serves as the reservoir that contains all these things like data, like image, like your photo, and all those items that you believe that can be stored, on the internet, are being stored in the web. So the technology that can be used to drive this thing is the internet. That is why we say that internet is a tool, while web is a reservoir of our data. Thank you very much.
So for instance, if we look at the production line, you're saying that you have produced your goods. Just to further buttress this, you've produced your goods, you have a warehouse where those goods are stored, or you need a vehicle to move it to the next point maybe to your customers.
Yes.
That's how it plays.
Exactly.
So the web, World Wide Web, is the storage of all this data,
Definitely.
while the internet helps you to drive the information, not just everything, few informations that you need as you source for it online and all. It helps you drives it to where it should go, or where it's needed.
Yes.
Mr. Anya, the internet is used for other services. Can you just mention some of those things or some services that are
There are very many of them, starting from the common message receiving and sending via email, Instagram, and all the rest. We can also use internet to play games. Of course, I cannot enumerate the number of computer games that are available. There are so many of them. We also use it for file uploading and downloading. And of course, in the area of security, internet is also there. You recall...
sorry, sir. Are you not saying that, just for further clarity, the internet is used? I hear of... sorry, we need to just give some practical examples. So the games like the Lotto, games being played, the Bet Ninja, sorry for mentioning them, just to drive home the point. Those are games.
No, yes, they are games, but beyond those commercial games, there are also leisure or entertainment games that computer is used for. That's why when you see children maybe playing with some gadgets, it's also a form of computer game. There are very many of them. I remember a time I used to play draft in my computer and other games. So I was going to talk about the use of computer for security when you interjected.
Yeah.
Do you know that some things like swipe card is also internet based, and there are so many other security gadgets that are internet based. So computer has a wide application that we cannot enumerate if we start counting them. That is why when we are using computer, we should, just like when we have in real life, we should apply some etiquette, especially like when we are eating. We are to use polite language that interact politely whoever, when it comes to messaging now, we don't take undue advantage that we are not seeing the other person at the other end.
Yes.
Then you start using
Foul language.
Yes. So we have to also maintain our normal self when we are using computer.
So talking about the etiquette, be respectful, be polite,
Yes.
use words that will send the right meaning, because we are talking about communication now.
Yes.
We're just looking at how the other party will decode what you have sent.
Exactly.
In the world of computers, you use the word of, it's also communication. You talk about encoding from the sender, and when it's getting to that side, the person is able to decode what you're saying.
Yes.
And it's only meaningful when the receiver has been able to interpret rightly what you are communicating.
Yes.
Communication does not take place without, they say communication has taken place when the receiver is able to get the right meaning of what is being passed on.
Yes, you're right.
So thank you, Mr. Anya. We want to look out. I've been hearing the word cloud, and when they say cloud, I look up to the sky because I see the cloud. What do we mean when we say cloud? So for better understanding to those who are in the computer space, what do we mean when we say cloud?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Yes. Because as we know that the technology is evolving every day. So this so-called cloud, it can be better explained when you add computing with it, because there can be cloud without computing. So we better call it cloud computing. So this cloud computing is nothing but the computers on the internet. That is, you have your computer on the internet. So from this word cloud computing, we just have to let people know the importance of this cloud computing, or so to say cloud, because some people call it cloud. You know, those people that call it cloud, they mean cloud computing. So this cloud is it involves, it's a kind of mass storage where people store data, you store information, then you store graphics, and whatever you can store in your computer physically, you understand.
Yeah.
Then you can also store it in the cloud. So looking at this cloud, the importance of cloud, you see, before people begin to appreciate this cloud of a thing, it will be like in the next 5 years. Because in the next 5 years now, okay, for example, if you want to upgrade your memory now, you go to the market, you buy memory. Maybe you buy memory of higher gigabyte or terabyte or whatever, you know, and if your hard disk space is exhausted, then you go and upgrade. Maybe you buy, you know, hard disk of a higher memory space. But in the nearest future, like 5 years to come, according to the scientists and according to some authors, you know, they believe that in the next 5 years it will not be possible for us to go to the market and upgrade our memory. Anything you want to do, you go to the cloud, you subscribe from the cloud. You know, in that case, the issue of hardware will not come into play again. The hardware that used to be hardware, the hard disk that used to be hardware will not come into play. You know, the memory that is RAM that used to be in the form of hardware will not come into play. So if you need a memory space, you subscribe from the cloud. If you need to store something in form of your hard disk, you subscribe from the cloud. You know, it comes to you now that, you know, if you want to maximize your profit and minimize cost, you must make sure you take into consideration two important things. The two important things is the space complexity and time complexity. In computing generally today, what we are going to consider, or what we are considering presently, is two things: space complexity and time complexity. Because for whatever you want to do, you go into the cloud. The more you stay in the cloud, the more money you pay. The more the more space you occupy in the cloud, the more money you pay. So you begin to look at what are the technology to be adopted in order to reduce the time to be spent, on the cloud, to reduce the space, to subscribe from the cloud. So to come back to your question, we want to look at the various advantages of cloud computing. The first important advantage is less cost. The issue of the hardware will not come into play again. The issue of what we discussed earlier on about the security. The security will be provided by the owner or those people that are controlling the cloud. So you don't need to go and provide maybe security on your own. Everything will be controlled centrally. So
Dr. Lede, I think we can hold it here. We'll quickly go on a short break and we'll be right back. It's getting interesting, but let's go on a short break. We'll be right back.
Ed Jones School of Management, Innovation and Enterprise, Inventing the Future. Here at Ed Jones School of Management, we see the big picture. We are inventing a world-class institution, an institution at the core of cutting-edge research, learning and entrepreneurship, with the largest population in Africa and a rapidly growing youth population, accounting for over 50% of the population. Nigeria is a collection of great possibilities, and we are poised to provide direction in harnessing these raw talents for a more prosperous future with the world-class teaching faculty and facilities. Our goal is to produce the very best, able to hold their own anywhere in the world. Ed John is helping to lay the groundwork for Nigeria's push into the areas of artificial intelligence, robotics, and entrepreneurship, innovative skills which increasingly shape today's global economy. We are accredited by the National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, and bridging the gap between academia and the real business world, where innovation is solving real-life problems, with partnerships with world-class institutions to produce graduates who are recognized both locally and internationally. Our partnerships open up doors for our graduates to more learning opportunities and even careers that are able to transform individual lives and the nation at large, helping to create innovative solutions to issues currently facing our society locally and internationally is what we are about. Ideas are the currency our learners trade in, and we provide the environment to grow these ideas to propose world-changing solutions. Here at EdJohn, we are clear about our goals and are creating the solutions with technology and entrepreneurship. EdJohn School of Management, Innovation and Enterprise.
You're welcome back after that short break. Dr. Lede was on a point talking about space complexity and how moving on in the next 5 years, when some of these things we are using will become very obsolete. So you were talking about the advantages, sir.
Yes, another important advantage is 24/7 availability. This cloud is there for everybody that subscribe from it. Is there 24/7. There's nothing like power failure. This cloud is being controlled. If there's any destruction in power, there will be alternative and an uninterruptible power supply. So, and this thing is located far away from Even many people, if you ask them where's the cloud, they don't know it. They just know that cloud exists. So 24/7 availability is another important advantage of a cloud computing. Another one is flexibility in capacity. That is, even if you want to store the entire world into it, it's so flexible in capacity that you can contain it. So the only thing is that you pay, you subscribe, and that is that. Then another important point is automated update on software. You don't need to update software on your own. You don't need to be looking at everything will be done automatically with the latest technology, and that is your own is just to subscribe and just enjoying something. Then another important one is security. This security is very important. Before any hackers could play on your intelligence, there will be a kind of control. According to the scientists, all those things will be in place in the next few years, so that all these things will not be at a great disadvantage to us. There are numerous advantages of this cloud, and I believe that in the next few years, when we get into it, you will believe that every individual, not one person in the family, every single individual needs to be computer literate. If you don't do that, you spend more time in the cloud, you pay more money, then the more you stay there, the more money you pay. And that is about that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Oluede, for taking us through the advantages. And I sincerely, anything that has an advantage definitely will have a disadvantage. The last point you made mention is the issue of security. And Mr. Anya,
Yes.
I want you to talk about the demerits. So that because when you know the demerits, you know the advantages, you now know how you place yourself. So I want you to talk about some of the demerits that this poses.
If the internet was made by, somehow it came from God, but in as much as it's man-made, it has a disadvantage.
The wisdom came from God.
Yes, but the application is human, so there must be disadvantages. So one of the disadvantages, there are many of them. We have even mentioned them in passing as we were talking about how to secure our distance.
Yes.
So one now is that your data can be accessed by other people. It's like now we have a central location where everybody is now
goes
so everybody now can go there. So it's now left to you to now know how to protect your data. If not, it's open for other people to access it.
We actually need the internet to strive, to be able to get this properly. So if the internet is not working, like you're saying, is a demerit.
Yes.
You will not be able to do anything meaningful.
Yes.
And we are, for instance, we're on 3 or 4G, but the next phase which people have entered into,
we are not
5 or talking about 6G, to ensure that the speed level, when Dr. Leo was talking about the mainframe, micro computers, the speed at which they operate now, if we must go in that level, then that means this internet connection has to be at par with what is obtainable in the other parts of the globe.
Yes, that is why we are also talking about this our Jones School of Management. In those days when we were in school, we were talking of atom being indivisible. One teacher told us that we can say that for that moment, but because tomorrow one of us can now come up with a theory that say atom is not divisible.
Something you can
so
see.
If our youth embrace this computer education, like we are advancing from a John, who knows whether they will be able to combat some of these things we are looking at as disadvantages. They should be able to find a way to overcome it. That's why computer education is very necessary. So the advantages are there, but it's not impossible to overcome them. That's why a John computer school is there for our youth to come and then how to overcome all these problems. And then there's this problem of security too. We have talked about it earlier on. And then the issue of compliance, vulnerability in the event of an attack, and then data mobility, and then other technical problems. So, but if people are well computer educated, some of these things we look at as problems or advantages will not be there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anya. Dr. Lady, looking at, we're still talking about communications in ICT. We want to look at critical elements necessary to connect to the internet. What are those critical elements you need to connect to the internet?
Yes, internet, international networking is actually a tool. And the way people look at the internet is it's not just like that. There are various critical elements that are necessary to connect to the internet. The first of thing is the computing device that you are using. You see, as you have mentioned it earlier on, that the technology is evolving every day.
Yeah.
In fact, every second, not every day. Very soon, all the devices that we are using now will be obsolete.
Very obsolete. Yeah.
Because the yet to come operating system, may not be able to support all these type of devices. So now, one critical point in connecting to the internet is your device. So it depends on the way you want to enjoy it, the way, if you really want to enjoy it, the way it should be, then you look for a compatible device. That is number one. Then another one is operating system. We learned that the operating system is a set of instructions. We call it a master program. Operating system. It's a master program that controls all other programs. In addition to that, this operating system controls the execution of hardware resources. When you want to, like your printer now, if you want to print anything, your printer just sets in your papers and just click, and everything will be printed. Is with the help of an operating system. So the type of operating system, the type of operating system used, also contribute to the connection to the internet. Now another one is the TCP/IP, which is a transmission control protocol / internet protocol. This TCP/IP is a protocol. In those days, it was very difficult. For example, if you are using a particular brand of system now, and I'm using a different brand, in those days, the LS computing, it was very difficult for you to send data or for you to send information, to different model. It will not go. Because as technology advances, they were looking at this as a great problem. Then they introduced what is called protocol. This protocol is a set of rules and regulations that guide the transmission of data from one point to another, irrespective of the device that you are using. So far you comply with the regulation, then you are good to go. So that is TCP/IP. Although we have different types of protocol, but the one we use, for communication mostly is this TCP/IP. We also have OSI reference model, which is Open System Interconnection Reference Model, but this TCP/IP is mostly in use today.
Okay, Dr. Luyide, we want to appreciate you. Time is not our friend today. We want to wrap up the episode. We'll continue. We promise you we'll continue with some of these elements that are needed in the next episode, so that we can get ourselves abreast with what is required in terms of looking at the elements of computer. On this note, we want to draw the curtain on today's episode of the Anchor. Please stay blessed and stay safe.